Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. If you're a walking billboard for how you've failed to get a girlfriend, then it will just continue to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. 20 Unpopular Opinions of Reddit. The phrase "respect your elders" is BS. I get told this a lot, and the only person who's agreed with me on this was one of my teachers from a couple years ago. But, yeah, I think telling people to respect their elders is BS. I usually hear this when you disagree with an old person. I don't have any respect for a lot of people who are older than me. I don't respect my racist ex-art teacher, because she was racist. Yet, when I tell people I didn't like her, they tell me to respect my elders. Yeah, no. She doesn't get an excuse to be a twat. Old people also say this when they're being rude to cashiers at the store, from what I've overheard. You don't suddenly get an excuse when you're old. There is no point buying a lifted 4x4 vehicle if you're never going to take it off-road. I see so many fuel-guzzling 4x4 trucks and SUVs on the road these days, and it often makes me wonder why people waste their money on stuff like this that they're never going to use. If you're never going to drive on rough terrain off-road, or haul anything heavy, then why even buy something like that that's not going to be used for what it's made for? Get a smaller vehicle with RWD or FWD instead. They're often cheaper to buy, cheaper on fuel, and are more fun to drive on the road. People who love corporate cheap prices shouldn't complain about big businesses paying low wages. Yes, everyone hates big greedy corporations. But think about it, the problem isn't just the big businesses. If they pay their workers minimum wages, they aren't breaking the law. If you think the minimum wage isn't livable, get the government to raise it. Because you know what happens when you don't pay minimum wages but hire while every other business is? Your prices go up. And when someone has cheaper deals, you go to that store, and then the store that has higher prices tanks. I'm not saying that corporations can redistribute their pay, like reduce manager pay to better support the on-the-floor workers, say in Walmart. If you flip it and replace big company with small company, people will feel sorry for the small company. Big or small, shouldn't matter. I guess my opinion is that yes, they play a role, yes they suck to a point, but we as a society, as a whole, are also in some way a part of the problem. I admit my finances isn't great. Yeah, I'll shop at the cheapest, sometimes forgetting or disregarding the labor practices. Poor people always want to keep other poor people down. Family members of the lower echelons of society are always trying to keep each other down. Working out, ridicule him. Getting a degree, tell him he should work as an Uber driver. Feeling insecure? Make him feel like absolute for it. It's not their fault, they do it without knowing, not maliciously. But when you are poor, you'll get ridiculed for adding apples to a chicken salad. Teaching Christianity in schools, but not other religions, is not okay. I grew up in the Bible Belt, had knowledge of a few religions, but it wasn't extensive, and had to take a Christian Bible class every year to even graduate my high school. Until I moved out of my parents' house and into the real world, I had never met anyone that wasn't Christian or agnostic. I didn't get the opportunity to figure out what I truly believed in, so when it came to college and all those of religion as a young adult, I didn't know how to answer. I didn't know about traditions of other religions, or holidays. Didn't know the basis of any other religion, and I don't think that is okay in the slightest. Tanning is stupid. When I was 17 I went into tanning beds. The reason for this is because I saw my girlfriends use them. I'm a guy BTW, and it was popular in high school. I'm 20 now, and as someone who has a light medium olive complexion I avoid tanning as much as possible. Why? Well, for starters, I don't like the way I look with a tan at all. I don't necessarily want to look translucent pale, but for some reason I look more attractive with a fair complexion. Another is I don't want brown spots and skin cancer when I'm 40. My mother would use tanning beds twice a day when she was younger, and being that she is part Syrian, she tanned so much her skin was black. I am not exaggerating. She now has brown spots and wrinkles. If you use tanning beds or tan regularly in the summer, you're stupid. You were brought into existence without a say, you shouldn't be forced to stay, and you should be allowed to go out on your terms. Nobody exists on purpose. No one belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die. Suicide is a crime. It's looked down upon, but not because society truly cares about one's existence, but rather because one owes a debt to society for existing. It's not profitable for society if one ends existence prematurely. There's an entire multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to ensuring people don't end their existence on their own terms. Even in a time when most would argue population is reaching numbers the environment cannot sustain. One should be able to make their own call and end their own existence when and how they see fit. Important, I am not suicidal. Please take this with a grain of salt and a push for open dialogue. Hunting invasive species is cool and good for the environment and we should do it more. Foxes, nutria, tanuki, American mink, rabbits. What do these animals have in common? They are cute and, in some areas, they are highly destructive invasive species. To me, creating a market for wild-caught pelts from these animals, as well as for other species like Burmese pythons and lionfish, would be the best way to stop the damage that they're doing. Tanuki carry 35 types of parasitic worms, and rabies, nutria are literally eating America's wetlands, and rabbits are causing untold destruction to Australia's ecosystems. I would never keep a fox in a tiny farm cage or think about hurting an endangered animal, but I would like to hunt invasive species, and eat them if they're rabbits. I'd even start a comprehensive website dedicated to this. Not everyone is smart. This is similar to the, everyone gets a trophy mentality, but it's talked about much less. For some reason people can't accept the fact that they may not be top of their class or just naturally more intellectual than others. The desire to have others perceive yourself smart is ridiculous. Instead of working harder in school or whatever, people seem to hide their lack of smarts with other talents. In example, I've seen people call themselves musically smart, street smart, athletically smart, usually in a specific sport, people smart, and other BS. People seem to believe they live in a video game where they are born with a certain amount of skill points in random trees that they have no control over, and it's pathetic. It diminishes those who are actually trying their hardest in classes just for Brittany to say she failed her app calc class because she wasn't born book smart. Not everyone is smart, and that's fine, just don't try and act like something you're not due to insecurities. If you see yourself as unintelligent and don't like it, then try to improve on it, read a book sometime. It gets to a point where accepting yourself too much can be just as unhealthy as hating yourself. Eating butt is disgusting. I just don't understand it. There is nothing sexy about it. It's just licking a hole from which poop came out few hours earlier. Some of my pals say they absolutely love it. What? Licking poop hole? Sorry ladies, not for me. Having divorced parents who are happier separate is much better than living in a toxic house with both of them together. People who say they're together for their kids and then continue to provide those same kids with the baddest environment. Why? No one wants to hear their parents fighting and yelling at each other every day. It makes me wonder if you're together to provide your kids with a good life or just cause y'all are incapable of leaving your toxic relationship. Dreadlocks look gross and unhygienic. I have a coworker who has a massive nest of dreadlocks, and they just look horrible, but nobody has the balls to tell him. And I bet he doesn't even wash his hair. I don't know how people take care of hair like that, but I assume they don't wash it often, because his hair stinks. Whenever he passes close to me, the smell is unbearable. They just look disgusting. I can help but thinking in the amount of parasites those things must have. Virgin shaming is a serious problem in our culture. I have noticed that in many arguments in real life or online, people frequently say things like, "Oh, you are just a virgin," or "Looks like this guy doesn't have a girlfriend," "Oh, you are just mad because no women wants you," to shame people with different opinion. I feel like this kind of virgin shaming of men has been normalized as if our feelings don't matter. People who don't have a relationship often struggle to do so because of their appearance, or mental issues, or poor social skills. These are things that they either have no control over, or something that is really hard for them to change. In our society, body shaming of women is highly frowned upon, yet body shaming of men or virgin shaming men seems like it's completely acceptable. Nowadays people tend to equate a man's worth with his ability to have a girlfriend or wife, and not having one is somehow a bad thing that you should be shamed for. Yet not having a boyfriend or husband is seen as a virtue of a strong independent woman. Movies are dead because of all the political correctness. 10 years ago we had so many great movies that were not burdened with forced correctness, diversity and politeness. Today those values are being forcefully showed and they are not implemented casually like they were before. What is the problem with having a movie that is incorrect a bit but is fun to watch? Why can't we make movies that are focused on the problems and the fun movies that give us nice time and that are relaxing? But your family is not an excuse. Why do I have to spend money on people who don't even care enough about me to participate in my life unless it's convenient for them? You never take interest in my life, don't talk to my fiancé when he's right in front of you, and haven't bothered to see the house we bought at 21 and 25, don't expect an invitation to our wedding. Don't expect me to waste my time on a Christmas celebration with you. Don't expect me to go out of my way to spend time with you. I'm sick of being told but they're your family, you need to love them. Millionaire celebrities shouldn't ask us common folk to donate to causes when they can fund the entire thing themselves. You see it every time there's some kind of cause or political campaign that a celebrity endorses. Most recently, Danny DeVito started publicly supporting Bernie Sanders and has asked everyone to give to the campaign. Regardless of your politics, I think this is wrong. DeVito was just in Jumanji alongside the highest paid actor and comedian with Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, worth $320 million and $200 million respectively. Jack Black is even worth $30 million. These celebrities aren't valued off their investments and stocks like CEOs. Everyone hates Jeff Bezos for being rich despite him not having much actually liquidated, which nobody seems to understand. They're paid in actual liquid cash for their performances. DeVito could easily just ask his co-stars to donate $3 to $5 million each and fully fund any political campaign. For Johnson that's pocket change. Same with Hart. And yet DeVito asks the public to help fund the campaign? These are the people who are supporting Sanders because they're already poor or one hospital bill away from poor. I don't get it and I think it's wrong. Another non-political example. Team Trees. $20 million raised by mostly common people. We even saw Elon Musk and a few others chip in $1 million each, so we know it can be done and celebrities can do it. They just don't care enough to help or are so greedy they refuse to part with their millions. Any of the Kardashians could plant millions of trees with the cost of a few of their multiple cars, but none of them donated to my knowledge. And yet every celebrity comes out of the woodworks to stand by these causes, asking other people to donate when they sit side by side with millionaires. Tattoos don't make you interesting. I'm tattooed and so is my girlfriend. In fact, my girlfriend is a professional tattoo artist. I see so many people in social media talk non-stop about how they are tattooed, and memes like I'm tattooed and employed or badass tattooed forklift operator things. It's annoying. If you need tattoos to show how interesting you are a boring person. People who don't want kids are valid and shouldn't be treated like looked down upon. Not wanting children is perfectly acceptable, and when people go about saying that kids are the only way forward and berate said childless people, I think it's a bad move. Someone else's reproductive interests is none of your business, so stop butting into it. Some people just aren't ready for parenthood, don't like kids, or would prefer a pet instead. Child-free people are a necessity, and if everyone on Earth had children, the world would be overpopulated. Every religion is built like a scam. You better live your life the way I tell you to or you'll die a horrible never-ending death. Also give me 10% of your income, and come to my house every single Sunday or you will be seen as a sinner. Which is bad, despite half or more of the stories I tell you being focused around some of the worst people in the world that helped our religion in the long run, so we kinda look past that. To make it into heaven you need to know your God, but to know your God, you need to know what I tell you to so that you can know that you know Him. And you don't just need to hear it once like you do with the law of gravity. You need to hear it every single week. You know, to remind you. If you question the things I teach, it's because you're not a good student, you're not thinking narrowly enough. I just wanted to point out that Christianity is set up exactly like a Ponzi scheme, and so are other religions. It's freaking ridiculous. How do people expect others to really take any of this stuff seriously? The second they ask for 10% of all the money you earn, you should pretty much well know that it's a Ponzi scheme. Maybe if Redditors would stop centering their culture around not having girlfriends, they'd find one. No bigger turn off to a girl than hearing about your failed ventures as a male. You get what you bring into the world, and if you're a walking billboard for how you've failed to get a girlfriend, then it will just continue to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have a friend who's like a lot of you. Can't go 10 minutes in a conversation without bringing up the fact that he's 32 and never touched a woman. Even to girls he's just met. As if he thinks some kind of pity party will get him laid. Think about it, if you were at a party and some girl was going from group to group spilling stories about how she's never been with a man at age 32, what would your first instinct be? If you're smart, you'd wonder why. What's wrong with her? Is she abusive? Crazy? Something wrong with her? If you're stupid and thirsty you might think now's my shot, and hell, it might be. But you're going to regret it. The point is that it's not something you should walk around advertising. It's not something to bring up in casual conversation, and more than anything it's not something to base an entire internet community culture off of. Most women, the good ones anyway, like average dudes. Losers come off like, well, losers. Outwardly successful people just come off as arrogant pricks. Most women just like regular old dudes. Fat, skinny, muscular, chubby, whatever. It doesn't matter. I've seen every dude imaginable find happiness with a woman. Some of the ugliest people I know have settled down with a girl, because they found someone who has similar interests as them, or someone they can just connect with. You know what they all had in common? None of them ran around telling everyone in their auntie how long it's been since they've had a girlfriend. Because that's a surefire way to never get one. Thanks for listening to Radio TTS. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Click the right box for the Unpopular Opinion playlist. Share your own unpopular opinion in the comments below. And don't forget to leave your feedback about these opinions.